I love that thing. So I wanted to make this video today about my switching mechanism that I use on my kayak. Ever since I put up my video showing you guys how I installed my trolling motor on my kayak, the most common question that I have received from you guys is, what is that switch and where can I get it? So I'm going to tell you guys all about it right now. Gamma Electronics is the manufacturer of this fine equipment that I have here, and it's an RF receiver model RF12V1PR-ASL. And what you receive is you receive the module itself, or the receiver, and you receive the key fob, which you can see it has an arrow up and an arrow down. Now, this module here is not an exclusive design for trolling motors. I'm fairly certain that they didn't intend for it to work on a trolling motor, but that's what I'm using it for. And it works very, very well, and I'll tell you why it works well here in a moment. Now, when you receive this module here, you'll see that there's 4 inputs on it. There's an M1 and an M2, and then you have your 12-volt sources for negative and positive. So I have my 12-volt source down there, my deep cycle Walmart battery there. You can see my 4 pieces of Velcro that I normally are attached to the bottom of this. And this entire thing normally sits right down in here inside the back of my kayak. And what you have with the M1 and M2, they don't mark them positive or negative due to the fact that you can actually reverse the direction of turn or the polarity of the motor just by switching these wires around. So you don't have to make them exclusively negative or positive. So if I wanted, the way I have it set up right now is the negative is on 1, the positive is on 2. And if I press the up button, it'll actually propel me forward. If I press the reverse button or the down button, it'll actually propel me backward. So, and if I turn these 2 wires around and put M1 on positive and M2 on negative, if I pressed up, it would actually propel me backward, and if I pressed down, it would actually propel me forward. So that's why I did that. I also want to mention to you guys that on the trolling motor itself, it doesn't just have a positive and negative lead coming out of the trolling motor shaft. You actually have, on this particular model, you have 4 wires coming out. You have a red, a black, a white, and a yellow. Now, the black is the common ground, and then the red is the full 12-volt application to the motor, and then the yellow and the white are they apply some sort of a less resistance to the motor that allow it to turn slower. That way you're not going as fast. And with this switch, I just directly applied 12 volts to the motor. I didn't want to mess around with any of the other wires that were coming out of there. So what I did was I cut the white and the yellow wires and folded them down and pushed them back inside the shaft of the trolling motor, and all I have coming out of the trolling motor itself are the red and the black wires. Now, some of you may want to just run out and buy this for your trolling motor, and that's great, but I want to explain some things that you might want to consider before you do that. Now, this particular switching mechanism here is only rated for 30 amps at 13.8 volts direct current. Sounds like a lot, but I'm going to explain to you. Now, this is the Endura C2 transom mount trolling motor that I have on my kayak right now. And if I turn the page here, you'll actually see that the model that I have, the 30-pound thrust model, has a maximum current draw or maximum amp draw of 30 amps, which is the maximum that the relay contacts on that switching mechanism are rated for. If you jumped up to a 40 or 45, you would have a max amp draw of 42, and a 50 or 55 pound, you would have a max amp draw of 50. So real world, my motor only pulls when I'm just cruising through the water. It doesn't pull anywhere near 30 amps. It pulls somewhere around 15, which is not even close to the maximum amp draw or the maximum amp rating that the contacts are rated for on this switch. But if you were to get caught up in weeds or something like that, or God forbid you hit some rocks and bust up your propeller or something like that, that's when your motor is going to start pulling more amps to try to work itself through whatever obstacle it has on it. So it'll start pulling that maximum 30 amps when it has some kind of a obstruction or obstacle in its way. So if you're going through a lot of weeds, or if you're going through insert whatever scenario you have, it'll start pulling more than that, average current draw of 15 that I've experienced on mine, and it'll start making its way up to 30. So could you possibly get away with having a higher pound thrust motor on this particular switching mechanism? I suppose you could. Do you really want to risk having some sort of an issue while you're out on the water with your switching mechanism to where you can't even turn it on anymore? Probably not. So to be safe, I would stick with the 30-pound thrust motor, which in all of my research that I have done on the trolling motors and switches and stuff that I have looked for my kayak, this trolling motor is more than enough for what I'm doing. This trolling motor was actually meant for like a John boat, and a John boat weighs well more than my kayak does with just me in it. So something else I want to show you guys, which I haven't done yet, which I would urge you guys to do, is this comes with a couple extra wires here. And what these wires are for is to hardwire a switch, a physical switch, to turn this thing on and off. And I would absolutely do that in case something happens and you want to just be able to turn it off completely. You want to be able to have control of it somewhere where you can access it. Probably somewhere up by the seat somewhere is where I would guess. But that's for you guys to make the call. But it's neat that they actually installed the ability for it to be hardwired switched in. That way you can actually turn this thing off if you need to turn it off, or turn it on, or whatever. But it's more or less to be able to turn it off, like a fail-safe almost, kind of like a kill switch almost. So it's really, really great. I love this thing. I'm glad that I didn't have to drill 6 or 7 different holes inside my kayak to accomplish what I wanted to get out of installing a trolling motor on my kayak. It's great having it on there. I like being able to roll up somewhere, and then like I'll be rolling up and coasting in, and then I can just hit that reverse and it'll pretty much stop me dead in the water. So that's it's really great. That way I'm not up there spooking fish as I'm cruising in with my paddle splashing around all over the place. So I know you guys had a lot of questions about this, and I figured it was just a lot easier to make a video about it. Hope you guys liked the video. If you did, please hit the like button and stay tuned for more videos.